What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk. It's Sunday, October 20th, and we're back to talk RIFC clinching a playoff spot in the club's inaugural season by route of a 1-1 draw versus Charleston and a little help along the way. Not so much help from the league, though, apparently. So cozy up, grab a bear. Let's dive into this one. Just a reminder, Tide Talk is available on YouTube. And if you're watching now, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. If you're not already using the Club Collector app, click the link in this episode description. Go enter the code Tide Talk, all one word, to get a free pack added to your collection. And Tide Talk is more than just myself and Ryan trying to synchronize open a beer every Sunday night or Wednesday night or whatever. We are getting good at it. We've got the Call Hog Corner, which will be live on Twitter tomorrow night. We've got all of our great bloggers and a lot of great content. You can find it all on our website, tidetalkri.com. So make sure you check it out. I'm your host, Matt. I'm joined by my good friend, Ryan. How's it going, my friend?
Life's always a little bit better when you get the playoffs to look forward to. So, yeah, that's absolutely huge. I'm really happy that USL finally got it together to let us know that that is the case. Because I know there's a little too much math going on for my liking.
The maths weren't mathing. They allowed Rhode Island to announce it, although their policy has not been triggered yet. But let's actually let's start with that. And let's start with Kano telling the team that USL HQ finally cleared up a little bit of math and announced that, or not announced, let RIFC announce that they are in the playoffs.
So we just got confirmation from USL HQ. I don't really care how, but it is confirmed that we are confirmed for the playoffs in 2024. I think it came down to a scenario which potentially could be if, say we lost versus Miami, which we won't, a three-way tiebreaker. We still win the three-way tiebreaker if Pittsburgh and North Carolina can equal us. So we still win the three-way tiebreaker. So we're in. So let's go.
So crazy maths, a three-way tiebreaker could still very well be triggered, but Rhode Island FC would be in based on that. So pretty exciting to see the players kind of react in real time and get going there. But, you know, a cool experience and really cool to do so in our first season.
Absolutely. And I just, you know, let's break out the victory cigars here, guys. Like, I mean, hey, it's playoffs, baby. First one ever. I mean, this is a beautiful day. But shout out to both Matt Hands, and I'm putting this out immediately. But shout out to Matt Hands and Andrew Quadros trying to do all the math. And shout out to Matt Hands for you know, getting some inside scoop from the league to actually explain why only Rhode Island FC could talk about it, but the USL wasn't able to tweet about it yet. It's a very, I actually still don't really understand. Do you understand?
Yeah. So the way that it is because that 3-team tiebreaker could be triggered still. Then Rhode Island FC wouldn't technically be in until that tiebreaker has run its course. That's the way I read it. So, like, the tiebreaker would have to be settled for RIFC to get in via that. But there's no scenario where the tiebreaker is implemented where RIFC do not get in. So it's like the whole, you know, you clinched it, but not officially yet. That's kind of how I took it. That's kind of how I read it. Do you have anything different? Although it looks like you blinked and I never got you back. There you are.
Am I here?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you are right. I just still don't really get why. Like, it's like we could either finish 5th or 8th or 7th. So that's kind of it. You know?
I guess it's still just very open to interpretation. Also want to give Sarah a lot of credit because I know Matt was running around like a maniac last night and all day today talking about hypothetical situations and maths and all of that. So I know she had to listen to Matt all day and, you know, basically said as much. So big shout out to Sarah. Hopefully that means Jello shots for the Miami game. All right, so let's take a look at the...
Should be some celebratory Jello shots.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at the match that kind of got us here into that position that, you know, 3 points would have sealed it, but the 1 point pretty much did as well. Pretty familiar lineup. Koke and net, Turnbull, Stoneman, Yao, Nodarse, Duggan, Holstad, Ibarra, Harival, Noah Fuson, and JJ Williams. What did you make of this lineup, Ryan?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much as expected. I know the big decisions to be made were number one with Noah back, where does he slot back in? And then with Kozera coming back from international duty, does he play? Does he have 90 minutes in his legs? I think both decisions kind of made sense. We didn't get too deep into it last week, but Doyle definitely didn't have the best game last week. And I think with Chico being out, Noah slotting up front in that kind of striker, false nine type creator role, I think completely makes sense for him. And then I do like them. We mentioned it in the preview podcast of keeping Duggan at that left wing back role. Obviously, Nick Markanich is this will be news to somebody, but an absolute weapon. He has like completely obliterated the league record for goals this year. So having an extra center back there to try to deal with him, I thought was interesting. And, a move that really paid off. So, yeah, I think both decisions made sense, especially from a fitness and opportunity perspective.
And I think both Turnbull and Duggan did very well on Markanich and, in spots where he was getting on both flanks, and they both kind of corralled him and, forced him out wider than he's used to getting. So I think they both did a tremendous job defensively, especially kind of, being more of an attacking position in Kano's role with the wingbacks.
Yeah, I always thought like as a defender, like it was always a huge compliment when like the player you were marking like goes to the other side of the field. And I thought that was a huge compliment to Duggan because, obviously Markanich has done incredible things. He's going to the Segunda division in Spain next year, but I thought he was very, very quiet on the night. And I think a lot of that is due to how the RIFC players defended him.
So early on in this one, I loved how we came out. We were pressing high. We were flying all over. JJ and Noah were, spearheading the press. And it kind of seemed like they were rotating on it too, to kind of keep their legs a little bit fresh. About the 10-minute mark, I thought we kind of hit a wall. And we started sitting back a little bit deeper. It was just 11 men behind the ball throughout the first half of this one. And then it picked back up with like 5 minutes to go plus stoppage time. I thought the press picked back up. And obviously we'll talk about the goal in a little bit. But, first half stats were 62% possession to 38. We outshot them 2-1, one on target, none for them. Had the one big chance. They completed 250 passes for 86% accuracy. We only had 136 at 77. 13 falls to 11. This match official was comical, and I'm pretty sure they said in the pregame broadcast that he was the USL official of the year. I heard that like line on the way in. I did actually think
that it wouldn't be surprising, unfortunately.
Yeah. He was just very inconsistent. I think about the play early on where Herval got absolutely blown up in front of the RIFC bench, and it was just a little talking to. And then literally a minute later, Ibarra clips the guy in the middle of the field, yellow card. And the announcer said it. I know the announcers weren't in on the whole playoff hunt picture and, didn't have that information accurate. But I thought they were actually very good. They did not say Fuson. It was Fuson all. Did a pretty good job with that, but I thought it was one of the better broadcasts, at least listening to them, that we've seen so far. But the official, I thought he liked to talk. He was very much another star of the show type, as you can see there. 24 fouls in the first half. It would be like whistle, 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 and then kind of let it play. But no consistency or rhyme or reason to what he did, and I think that kind of helped us because we were sitting back and it allowed us to kind of set up, reset lines. But I thought defensively, like I mentioned with the wing backs and even with the back three as well, we just stayed very, very compact, very narrow. We kept our shape, and it really, gave them a hard time as far as what they were trying to do offensively.
Yeah, I mean, not to skip the halftime, but just looking at those stats, like holding Charleston to that one shot and 0 corners in a match. They're a team that they're like plus 40 goal differential or something crazy, 32, I think it might be. Clearly second place, and a team who likes to dictate play and being on the ball. So the way that we set up, I thought was very smart. I thought it was a very pragmatic approach to playing them. And I thought we tried our best. I think we tried to just kind of contain, press well, but not overpress, because right. The minute you overpress, overextend, they have plenty of players who can cut you apart there. So, overall it was great. I mean, to the ref, again, it's just the consistency. I think that's what me and you, I think we're consistent about being mad about inconsistency, because sure. If a ref's just like whistle happy and it's crazy, or they just aren't blowing anything, but they're sticking to that, you can at least live with that. Cause right. It's like,
okay, both teams have to deal with the same weapon.
Exactly. But when like you said, he's blowing everything and then goes minutes without blowing anything. It's just incredibly frustrating. I mean, my only push back on any of this is it must be very hard to ref Charleston because they are going down with any touch anytime you get near them. And
Sure.
it must just be very difficult to try to figure out what was actually a foul. Well, I mean, there was a point, I think in the first or second half where Noah got absolutely blown up in the corner. He doesn't whistle it at all. Noah's like trying to.
That was right at the start of the second half.
Yeah, and then like a couple seconds later, like Noah gets like close to the guy goes down, and it's a foul. So I think Timmy in our chat said it best. Like there's points where the ref blew the whistle and you had no idea who the foul, which team it was going to go to.
One of the first whistles, I was like, was it a foul? Was it offside? Like,
yeah.
I had no idea. And to your point about them, there was the incident with JJ and their keeper where JJ he got a foot on the keeper, but the keeper did like a double barrel roll in midair before he hit the ground. So totally embellished it, totally sold it. I'm surprised.
Listen, if you can do a double axel to sell a call, I'm going to give it to you. Like,
I guess
it's kind of like the Olympics figure skating standard for me. If you can pull off like a pretty high level trick, I'm going to give it to you. I'm sorry.
So things really heated back up, as I mentioned, I thought in the last 5 minutes and then plus stoppage time. And that was capitulated by Noah finding the back of the net in the 45th +2. So let's take a look at that.
Floated forward, knotted down, and the clearance away by Graham Smith. Cut back, Fuson. Noah Fuson's in, and he scores! Right at the end of this first half, Rhode Island take the lead in Charleston, looking for that playoff berth.
So I want to go back before that nice little give and go and kind of talk a little bit about what led up to that and JJ winning that initial ball in the box. And I know some people don't appreciate hold up play for what it is, but he did this a lot. He did this, in the possession leading up to this. He won the ball deep in the corner, recycled it back. He was winning a lot of challenges and keeping the ball at his feet and able to find someone to leave it off to. So I thought he did just an absolute great job in this one. He was tough for them to handle, but he wins it. It comes back out to Noah, who starts the play, plays a great ball to Ibarra, and then it's a simple give and go. And he makes a nice little cut back to the outside and slots it home with a really nice, calm finish. So a really nice, earned goal. Like I said, JJ wins that first initial aerial ball in the box. We keep it outside, ping it around, and just beautiful give and go between Noah and Ibarra on that one.
Yeah, I mean, even before it gets to Noah, it also shows the benefit of having someone like Duggan at that left wing back because Duggan actually pops it over to Noah, I think even. So having someone who's good in the air, and I think when we first signed him, we talked a lot about how he's kind of a dual monster as well, and he can really help with the kind of pinch up because you can trust him to win that one-on-one battle there, which he did a great job. But yeah, I mean, listen, everyone knows I absolutely love Noah, and none of this is about to be surprising, but I thought the way he read that play was incredibly, his run, he bent kind of through, kind of to go around the defenders, like so that the defender's back was to him. So the guy who was originally marking him kind of had no clue Noah was going on this run. And by the time he got the ball back, he was already at like a full sprint where Malloy was just completely flat-footed. So it just was one touch and then score. So just really incredible by Noah. I think that also was a play that we really, really missed last week against Loudoun.
Right.
We needed someone who could kind of take the ball and break open the game a bit. And obviously Noah, he's been on an absolute tear. Is still tied. There are people last night at the watch party that were like, shit, we almost wish he assisted it instead of scored so we could kind of get back in first place on the Golden Crater standings. He's now tied. But again, he's just on an absolute run of form that has really elevated this team to a new level. And great finish by Noah.
I wish he was on a little bit better run of form. We'll get to that in a little bit there. But always good to go into the break up 1-0. I think
and I think, sorry, just to build on that, like we talked about it in the preview podcast with the Holy Sound Off guys. Charleston's like a huge second half team, and it was really, really important for us to at least not go down in the first half, but to then go in 1-0 at halftime was incredibly important because, especially at home, I think Charleston scores 80% of the time in the second half at home. So that was a super clutch goal for us.
I also think, despite the whole possession gulf, I think we were the most likely to score during that one. I think we
had one shot.
Yeah, one shot, and that came very, very late in the half as well. So I thought we were even the better side just tactically. I think if you'd asked both coaches who was implementing their game plan better, it definitely would have been Kano and RIFC. Any other thoughts on the first half before we move on?
No, I totally agree with you. I think especially you mentioned the start. Like it felt like it was a team who's like, we want to come out, take the 3 points, and clinch the playoffs. Obviously, it happened either way, but it was like we are here to do one thing. We're not afraid of Charleston. And we think our game plan can match up. I mean, it was an interesting matchup as we talked about for a long time. Like we actually do a little bit better when we don't possess the ball, and Charleston loves to possess it. So it's one of those games where like there's some matchups like when we play like North Carolina when we were like, oh shit, this one's going to be weird because we probably are going to have more of the ball. This one, we kind of were able to play this more natural style that's been helping us. So I think we did a great job kind of balance that with also not overcommitting. So again, first half, A+ for me from the team.
Right. Like Andrew says, for sure, neither team threatened in the first half, but RIFC was more likely to be the one to score. It was just that counter, hitting on the counter. It was fast. It was efficient. And like I said earlier, our shape and just compactness and keeping that shape really stifled Charleston and what they were trying to do. So
yeah, it was very professional. It was very professional performance from the team. Like
an adult performance, Ryan.
An adult performance. The adult midfield was back, and I thought
pragmatic.
All those words.
All those buzzwords.
Yeah, adult and like, hey, it's like a very playoff-esque performance, right? Like you want to go in there and kind of handle business without going too far into it. So overall, again, great half of the team.
Even Evan gave him an A+ for the first half. So like,
this is terrifying.
That's absolutely wild. And this was only a slightly rotated Charleston side. They pretty much kind of went back to their full attacking guns and lineup, at least compared to last time out versus Pittsburgh. But one thing that I hope we can take from this, and I think we will, because we still want to finish as high as possible. I don't want to see a heavy rotated side versus Miami. I want to keep on. I don't think we will, because I think we want to get. It'll be fifth. We can't catch Indy based on the tiebreaker. So I think the highest we can finish is fifth. So with no home playoff game, at least for this round, at least. But I hope to see the full starting 11, and I hope to see us kind of capitalize on that performance. And it's going to be a much different game where we're going to have more of the ball versus Miami. So hopefully the creative spark with Noah back there, maybe Quazera comes back in to start for this one as well. But I think you look at a team like Charleston, who rotated heavily and then kind of came out a little flat after getting guys back in, and credit to us for making that happen. Mm-hmm. But there's always the risk of, if you rotate, you'll lose that crispness that we had throughout this one.
Yeah, now's not the time. I truly believe Kano's not going to rotate anything significantly for this one. But yeah.
No, absolutely. So second half, I thought was very much a snooze fest. I thought the first 25 minutes were extremely excruciating to watch both ways. Either team could really kind of get their foot on the ball and kind of stay with it. But it was just kind of a lot of back and forth. I don't think neither team really threatened in that first 25 minutes until the goal from Myers, which came in the 71st minute. But I thought it was very much still in favor of RIFC at that point, because we were still imposing our defensive will on them. But it looked like neither team was really kind of going for the breakthrough in that first 25 or so.
Yeah, it was very start and stop. It felt like a lot of whistles again from the ref, which again,
I was
a little frustrated, but I was also like, honestly, this is great for us. It's not letting them kind of.
Yeah, it just lets you reset the lines, right?
Yeah, so. And a couple tactical fouls by us, which again, I'm super happy with. That's again a very adult, very pragmatic, professional way to play. So it was one of those things though, every time I kept looking up at the clock, I was like, oh man, it's only been 2 minutes. Oh man, it's only been 2 minutes.
Right. It went by slow.
Very slow. And just zero momentum, zero anything happening. So same time, that favors us. That is how you want to see out games in a way, but tough to do that when it's 45 minutes, 52 minutes. That's like a little too early to kind of see that part of the game.
Right on. And it was Charleston who did get the breakthrough first, obviously, in this half with MD Myers' goal in the 71st minute. So let's take a look at that.
For Torres. Torres has a hit. Bounce once. Loose in front. Myers scores.
Slip. He's going to get the shot. And because it bounces right before Koke Vegas, that's where.
So it did short hop Koke, and Koke just made an absolute atrocious fumble, putrid, even, as Andrew Quadros says. We'll talk about Koke and kind of his saves in a little bit, but this one, I know it's always tough to put a goal solely on the keeper, but I think this one you have to put so much kind of solely on Koke.
It's up. Last night I was a little bit more mad about it than when I rewatched it today. I really think that was a tougher hop than I realized, and it seemed like it was a really, really bad surface in the goalie area. So
there was
really
a lot of dead grass on the pitch. It looked like
a lot of dead grass. So again, I think he should have stopped it, or at least caught it, or parried it even. But it was a tougher bounce than I originally thought. One other thing, I mean, again, I think this was mostly on Koke, and I think he would want this one back. But sure. I find it frustrating, again, as someone who played defense, that no one was like trying to get between the man in the ball, because like a ricochet is always possible, and the fact that there was nobody around Myers and he could take a touch at like the 3-yard mark, like, and still put it in. I just found it a little frustrating, because at the same time, like, you have to be prepared for anything. As a defender,
no one crashed. It was kind of standing flat-footed, looking back, and going from there. But
yeah, and
Andrew says you're making excuses. He can't make a meal of that in traffic. If it was tricky, knock it sideways, parry it out. Right?
Listen, I get it. I just think it was a really short hop. It kind of hopped like inches in front of him. I think that was gonna be tough for him to handle. But no, I agree. He should have parried. He should have did anything but kind of just fumble it in front of him there. But one thing I do always find a little bit frustrating that we seem to do every once in a while is we'll kind of look for offsides. And I just don't.
Frank's a big one with that.
Yes. I would struggle with that as someone who's watched this league a lot this year and does not obviously trust the refereeing, where it's like, you might be right, but like, you really, really think in like the crunch moment when they can't review it, there's no VAR or anything like that, that they're just going to nail it every single time. So I would be worried about that at like the 5-yard mark as well there.
That's a pet peeve of mine as well, when the hand goes at any level. You see it in the Premier League, you see it in Germany, you see it all across world football. So like you mentioned, in a league with no VAR, it's kind of inexcusable, because you just stop and take yourself out of the play at that point.
Yeah.
But like I said in our group chat, Jackson Lee saves that ball, Ryan.
Maybe.
All right.
We'll never know.
So moving on, we have let's see. Get my videos all up next. So Koke kind of redeemed himself a couple minutes later, as Charleston went on a big break, and he made a hell of a stop. And
sorry, can I just correct the record in the chat? I do think it was Koke's fault, guys. I just think it was trickier than I originally. I thought it was like one of those like howlers when I first saw it live last night.
It was pretty bad. I mean, the hop was short, but
yeah, it's more just like I thought it was like 100% a howler. I think it was like 75-80% a howler after watching the short hop. That's all.
All right,
it's fine. I just want to make sure everyone gets it.
So Koke did make his 200th and more USL Championship save in this match, and none bigger than this on the Charleston breakaway.
Kaza, great first touch, and now Emilio Ikaza is running in on goal. Ikaza saved. Rebound, Myers swinging a miss.
So 2 other things beside Koke on this. Huge credit to Marky Barr, who's on a yellow card, chasing him down at that point and doesn't make contact. Would have probably been a straight red at that point. And then MD Myers, who scored their goal, absolutely whiffs on the rebound, which I think he at bare minimum could get on target there. But big credit to Marky Barr for running this one down. And I think the Charleston player kind of felt him, knew he was there, and I think that led to a lot of it. But I was
cracking up for the whole time. I just was like, Mark, run. I was like, faster.
Yeah.
It just felt like he was just never catching him. And I was like, come on, man.
He made like a late gain on him.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it was. And, like Andrew says, I think you give your credit there to Ibarra more than Koke on that. And like I said, that's why I wanted to highlight Ibarra on that, knowing he was also on a yellow. So I think it was even more impressive for him to, kind of keep his hands down and just kind of let the Charleston player know he was there. Koke just made himself big, made himself tall, and was able to block it away. And then, like I mentioned, MD Myers with the absolute whiff on the rebound attempt there.
Yeah, and this kind of feels like a bit of growth for this team. Obviously in the beginning and middle of the season, we saw some pretty unfortunate red cards in situations that, at the time it might have been, it almost felt like the team felt like they needed to make that one play to kind of remove that one goal off the table, where this time it's like, hey, worst case, he does bury that. We want 11 on the pitch to try to get it back because we know we can. So I think that was a bit of growth in that area as well.
Absolutely. And, just losing anyone due to a red and getting suspended going into the playoffs is the least thing that we want. So, all credit to Ibarra there. Our next big chance came, I believe, was the 81st minute with the missed penalty. So let's take a look at that. This was a pretty poor effort from a man in pretty good form.
Championship this season. Grinwis hasn't saved one. Fuson, it's saved! The rebound, a scramble in front, and Grinwis brings it in. That's a save for Adam Grinwis.
So he sold out right away. He showed his hips where he was going. I think you could just see it, the absolute the whole time there. When I watched it live, I thought JJ had a really good break on that. I was like, JJ's gonna fire this one home. But he kind of backed off on it, and then there was Medlem in front of the net there. But a very poor penalty after Jack P won a very, very good heady tactical play where he was coming in, looked up, saw the keeper coming. Keeper comes out, clips him. He sold it too, but won it very well, but just a poorly executed penalty by Noah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, I was really happy when I saw like Noah immediately grab the ball, because it's like you want your guy who's in form and is kind of glowing with confidence to do that. But yeah, I think he rushed it a bit, to be honest with you. He kind of takes that one breath and then goes. And there's some like really interesting research about the longer you wait to take a penalty, you actually like have a higher likelihood to score. So you almost want to sit there, kind of take a couple deep breaths and then get into it. But yeah, you nailed it. Like he showed his hips immediately. He puts at the perfect height for the keeper to save. It wasn't even kind of like towards the corner. So just overall, not a good penalty. I think it is something that I know a lot of people last night were like, oh, we're 0 for 2 in penalties. We also lost a shootout to the Charlotte Independence in the Open Cup. So something for the team to think about, especially as we do get into this knockout phase of the season. But yeah, I think no one would want that one back more than Noah at this point. And the thing I was worried about, I was like, wait, there's still like, 10 minutes to go in this game. And I hope he can pick his head up and, try to kind of create something, especially when he was over at right wing back and now had a little bit more defensive duty. And the way that we were making subs, it seemed like we were much more trying to make attacking subs versus defensive. So I was like, we're going for it. We need you. We need you on board with us. So, again, hopefully that doesn't shake the confidence we see Noah has been playing with for the past, month or two now, because it's unfortunate, but we're also not in this position without him.
Absolutely. Matt Hands raises a pretty good question in the chat. I wonder who our designated penalty taker is, and if it is Noah. I guess I would have thought Chico, but after his horrid last attempt, I think Evan said in the chat, Noah's now got the horse one over him. Maybe it is Noah at this point. I also could see this kind of being by committee. Who's hot. Kevin says Jack should have stood over that. I saw like a football troll post on Twitter, and it was like, name one rule change you could make to football, and a lot of people said the person who gets fouled take the penalty. So I appreciate that out of that digest. But I guess in this situation, I'm picking Noah to take that one as well. We haven't seen.
I guess I was really happy when he picked up the ball. So I'm sure there's a list of, there's always that like top 5 that you're going to put into a shootout. I'm sure we have.
Okay, Football Manager.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure we have a list somewhere. I'm sure it's probably all, basically, usually it's all the strikers, couple midfielders. So I'm sure it's Chico, JJ, Noah. At the same time, you have to assume they're practicing these in practice or having some kind of tournaments or games or something in a way that we see, that kind of seeing players take them. And there must be a handful of guys who are in the running there, but at the same time, like we both said, like Noah would have been our pick anyway. So just unfortunate that he didn't execute there.
I would love to see where Clay ranks on that list, just because we know he can put in some bangers from, all over the pitch, and he's got a really good curl to his shot. So as far as beating a keeper and kind of being cool, calm, and collected, the way he strikes a ball, I think he could absolutely do a number from the spot.
He took a great one against Charlotte, from what I remember too. So I remember that was a real like hit or miss. Like some guys were like, "Oh shit, they should be taking more of these," and some guys I was really disappointed in. And I remember Clay being like, "Okay, that was he did exactly what I would expect Clay Hillstad to do." So yeah, I assume he's on that list. Who I bet takes a decent one is Koke.
Yeah, that's what we had. I think it's Coach Almeida in there. It says throw a curveball, have Koke take it. It's just giving us the Facebook user login right now. So sorry, whoever. But like Kevin says, Clay hits it hard, man. Clay just, and then when we had Kaylor on, he talked about Clay being probably the best ball striker in the league.
Well, he has like a heat-seeking missile to that top corner anyway, so he's just gonna touch it. It's gonna go there. So
just
perfect.
Want to like this with your hands.
Exactly.
All right. But final stats for this one. Much more of the possession gap included. 61% for Charleston to 39 for Rhode Island. 9 total shots. They actually got us, in the end there with the flurry that they had, to 6 for us. 4 on target for both teams. 2 big chances for both teams. 1 big chance missed for each team. 431 passes for Charleston at 84%. Easy to kind of do that when you're pinging the ball up top around with 11 men sitting behind you. To 247 at 76 for RIFC. 26 falls for Charleston, 27 for Rhode Island. This might have been the highest fall game, right? We're looking at 53 here. I think 47 was the previous high that we had. So
Yeah, and guess who we played?
It was the rain game, right?
Yeah, Charleston.
Yeah. So, we talked about that game and that ref, being what he was, but this guy right up there with the rest of them. 2 corners for RIFC to 1 for Charleston. Overall, I think this was just a really well executed game plan by Kano and the boys. It was stay compact, hit on the counter, and it looked to kind of catch them in different spaces and really frustrate what they do with Markanich up top and MD Myers centrally. And it pretty much worked. I think out of both teams, you'd have to say we'd be the happier with this result. I think pregame, obviously, we would have wanted to win to secure our place in. But if you were to say, hey, you went down to Patriots Point and you got a point versus Charleston, who does not lose at home, I think we all kind of would have said, sure, absolutely, I'll take that. You?
No, I totally agree. I mean, one thing that I think was a little disappointing in this one is there was those moments in the second half when we were trying to cling on to that lead where you almost wanted the adult midfield to kind of step on the ball and, give the defense a bit of a breather for a few minutes. And I think in this one, I was especially disappointed with Haraval. I think he had probably his worst match for us yet. And there's just some moments where he would get the ball, and I think he was a little slow on it, where you usually see him being a real one-touch passer who kind of gets things moving. And I really think there were some opportunities for especially the midfield 3 to kind of calm things down, put their foot on the ball, stroke it about, and, let us regain composure, kind of take a breather and get back into it. So I think that was the only disappointing part of this one. But like you said, if you would have told coach this was the outcome ahead of the match, and we honestly might be a little more disappointed because we had the penalty miss, I think he would have taken that all day.
I definitely totally agree with you there on that one. Let's turn to some of the social takes. We had our good friend Leo O on the Defiant 1636 Discord. Good, holding top 2 teams in the league to 3 total goals and finishing with a +3 goal differential across 4 games. Defense was able to stifle Charleston's big guns most of the game. Bad was the save penalty. Sucks when we don't see almost any, and the lucky few we don't go in. Ugly, Charleston's 1 goal coming off a bobbled bouncing ball, though not sure how Myers was onside when the original shot came in. That's another point we really didn't get to on that one, but Myers did look to be well ahead of that when it went in. His RIFC in 3 was a mistake foiled lockdown. Zach Dew had good Fusan's slaloming goal, bad Fusan missing the PK. Ugly, RI General trying to figure out how standings work and the playoff confusion that went afterwards. His RIFC in 3, 1 more point, but we know that to not be true. And big ups to Capital J journalist Matt Hands, who reached out to the league office and got some intel there. And that was kind of what we talked about in the opening. They're not allowed to fully say RIFC got in until the event has been triggered. So it'd have to take that win or the 3-way tiebreaker to go in place for them to officially be announced as in by the league.
I do think if Hartford drops points, we also are in.
Yes.
So we'll see. But we are in officially. So just in case anyone is confused.
That's it. All this. Sarah had good Noah's goal, bad Noah's PK, ugly the second half. Math is confusing was her 3-word. And then you gave Zach a redo on his RIFC 3 in 3 if he'd like. And he said, I'll go with let's fucking go, or 4 more wins. Let's go win a championship. Why not? Fuck it. Next up, we had Andrew Quadros with good playoff berth clinching performance, bad Noah's PK, and our whole team's PK abilities this season. Like you said, Ryan, getting into the knockout stage, this could be something that could come back to haunt us potentially. Ugly, you cannot.
Or we're saving him for the playoffs.
That's true. That's true. His ugly was you cannot let that spill. Koke, awful. RIFC in 3, bring on Indy. Sarah went on and said how she needed to change her RIFC in 3 to my brain hurts after listening to Matt Hands talk about different outcomes of games. RIFC isn't in yet because of this one random scenario, and now the team is in because Kano quoted the 3-way tie he was talking about. But big props to Matt Hands and Andrew Quadros, who were right all along. I'll also throw Evan in there on his capital J journalism, who was one of the first to, if not the first, to post it on Twitter as well. Our friend Kevin.
I just assumed like Matt was like sitting there with like the red string and like trying to put all the pieces together, and like he had 4 different
suspect board on the wall.
Yeah, just like trying to pull it all together last night.
I can see that.
He just keeps waking up. Sir, I figured it out. I figured it out finally.
It's like that meme with the guy rolled over and the girl rolled over. I bet he's thinking about other women. It was Matt doing the playoff picture in bed. Kevin had RFC in 3. Fucking playoffs, baby. Good fucking playoffs, baby. Bad Koke's botch ball. Ugly Fusan's PK attempt. So thank you to everyone on the Discord who wrote in. We had WTM 1970 one step closer on Instagram with his 3-word, which proved to end up being true a little later on, or proved to be that we were in a little bit later on. We got Evan on Twitter. Good, didn't lose anybody. First half highlights. Bad Noah in the second half, along with forgetting what they did in the first half. Ugly Koke playing hot potato in goal, whatever that PK was by Noah. One of my favorite names to read on here, our guy Dookie Main. Good.
I met Dookie Main in person last night.
Pico's was roaring in a solid first half. Bad, the creativity was still lacking. We could link a few passes, but final or out balls were poor. Ugly 2 back-to-back underwhelming performances going into the last game, giving ourselves unneeded pressure. Indy draw biting us. I'll always stand on the hill that the Indy draw did kill us. And on face,
I don't know that. I didn't find that this was an underwhelming performance. Loudon definitely. I don't know if I agree with this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was more tactical. It was more to stifle what Charleston is capable offensively, and kind of give them trouble with what they do.
We held the guy who's averaging a goal a game till I don't know if he had a shot. Like he was absolutely ghost this one.
I think he had one, and I don't think it was on target. Chuck had, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have no shot in hosting a first round game now, right? That is correct, Chuck. I know he's usually in the chat as well. So overall, like you said, as far as calling this one a tough one, I think it was just different because of how we had to play. We had to play defensively, and we had to really, shut down what they did. You mentioned you went to Pico's. Talk about it. How was the watch party?
It was good. There's a lot of people there. It was awesome seeing everybody. I know I haven't been at the matches lately, but great seeing people that I haven't seen in a while. And the atmosphere was amazing. The funniest part about Pico's is in the first half, the one TV at the bar was about 10 seconds ahead of the other 2 TVs that everyone was watching. So when we scored, the roar started at the back of the bar, and then all of us
trickled up.
Something's coming. Yeah. So that was super fun. We did fix it at halftime with some excellent counting for everyone for pausing it and waiting. But great atmosphere. A ton of the team employees were there. A lot of the Defiance, a lot of the fans. So yeah, shout out to everyone who came out. Always fun talking with you all.
Absolutely. I was at the Providence Friars Late Night Madness. I was actually talking with Flanny, who's the in-game, host at RIFC matches as well at PC. So we talked a little bit, checked updates on the phone, and went from there. But a good night. Watched it. Finally got to watch it this morning. Did all my prep. Got all the videos already on there.
Like, by the way, I'm finally watching.
And then I told the guys like, I got all the videos loaded. Got this, that, the other thing. And now I'm gonna watch the match. So I was finally able to get to it. But most likely scenario, Ryan, is we're playing Indy at Indy, assuming we're able to take care of our end of business and take down Miami at home in the last game of the season. How do you feel about that one, knowing that we went there and essentially threw that match away to kind of focus on the derby? We were still in it, although we didn't really create many chances. They struggled to create chances too. They're a team that doesn't score a lot of goals. As far as that being a first road matchup, you got to kind of like those odds and kind of like where we're at with that one. At least I do.
Likewise, I have been vocal within a very small chat of people, but I don't think Indy is particularly great. I think we saw that especially in the last match with them, but they don't create much. They are pretty decent defensively, but I think I would pick us in a matchup against them. Obviously, it's a playoffs. Obviously, they have a great atmosphere at home, but the minute you start digging up bodies, I think your club can only move so far, and I do think that curse is over them. So I think that is a great team to get after for sure. I do see some people in the chat also bringing up Detroit as an option. I think that one would be tough. Obviously,
Yeah.
they have a really tough environment. I also think they are.
That depends on Tampa, Hartford. Tampa has to win out. They have to win their last 2 matches to put us to Detroit.
Yep.
I don't see them winning both, at least in my opinion. And I think
they have forgotten how to score a goal. So
they do have to win out. A tie doesn't help them. A draw doesn't help them. You know.
Yeah, I whatever is happening with Tampa, I have not seen anything like this in a very it is incredible how they have just gone from like unbelievable offense to like not being able to like a force field around the opposing goal. It's crazy.
Right. Like Chuck says, Detroit worries me much more than Indy.
Significantly for me.
I think it's a much tougher place to play. It's a shittier pitch to play on. So
I think they're a better team too. I think Detroit is legitimately like the third best team in the East.
Absolutely. I will say, I know Kevin's talking about potentially making the trip to Indy. I've been to Indy before. It's a great city. I know it's not a sexy name of like, like going to Charleston or going to like somewhere a little bit warmer, but Indy has a very cool downtown scene. A lot of really cool bars and restaurants. So if you're thinking about making the trip, it is a very cool city. There's a lot
What's
to
that
do.
Steakhouse that they always talk about on every NFL game there?
I'm not sure.
There's some steakhouse that every
football player
person. Yeah. It's like apparently right around the Colts Stadium. But no,
All right.
I remember if anyone's like curious too, we've talked to Betts on a couple of shows, and he's raved about kind of how you're right in the downtown area. It's like a short trip right over there, so definitely seems like a cool place to go.
No, absolutely. The NCAA Hall of Fame is right down there. I did that while I was there. It was really cool. It's got all the NCAA sports in it. I went to a Pacers game, which is like walkable in the downtown area. So just a really cool city, a lot of cool things to do. So if you can make the trip,
yes,
it would be. What's that?
Matt Hands found it. St. Elmo is the
steakhouse.
Yep.
There you go. So overall, I think this was one of our more impressive performances of the season defensively.
Wait, can I actually ask? I have a fun one for you.
Okay.
Was this a better performance than Louisville?
Yes. I think Louisville kind of went against the grain a little bit. But we've seen with this team so many times that one defensive mistake that leads to us getting beat or us getting a tie, and it was there today. It was with Koke. It wasn't with Frank or Yao, which it typically is. But overall, I think it was a pretty impressive performance. I know there was some also weird shit with, like you mentioned, the substitutions with us really going for it. We saw Frank play some wing back, which was awkward, but like he got himself in some pretty good positions going forward.
I have to say, Frank was the most like defender getting allowed to play offense when like your team's up like 10-0 or losing by 10, like down 10, like when you're a kid and they let like the kid who always played goalie go play up top. He was like running, having the time of his life up there. And they weren't marking him, which we talked about it a bit, like in our chat. Like I agree with their decision not to mark the center back playing right wing back, but yeah, it was one of those games where like I just felt we've talked about this with Kano throughout the season, where like our subs sometimes can be just like a little odd, where like all of a sudden a player will play. Like last night, Frank went from left center back. He played 10 minutes at right wing back. He then went back to center back, one of the center back slots. So I always struggle with like making players. Like a Noah or a Clay usually ends up being this person, but they'll play, most of the game in one position. They'll go play 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, and they'll just kind of plug in gaps to help the other players come on. Luckily, that's a credit to their versatility, but I don't love kind of shifting and changing that much within the game. Obviously, it's always going to be dependent on who you have, what's available, what you're trying to do. But yeah, always a little tough to kind of ask them to mentally keep switching and changing and things like that.
Yeah, but credit to the players for being able to do it, right?
No, I mean, I think one of the things that Kano seems to really appreciate from players is people who can play multiple positions. So I think even the way like JJ's a striker, but he isn't like one of those he only can be right in front of the net. He goes and mixes it up. I think Haraval, Clay, Noah, like there's so many guys who can, or even Turnbull's played multiple, both sides of fullback, and he's like a traditional like right fullback, not even a wing back. So yeah, credit to all those guys for being able to figure it out.
Exciting times here with the RIFC. We've got some potentially exciting stuff planned for the postseason with our friends at Providence Brewing. Yep. So if you're not already, make sure you're following our social media accounts. If it is an away game, or it will be an away game, we're planning on doing our live show ahead of the playoff matchup, and maybe there will be another Tide Talk beer to discuss and talk about. So like I said, if you're not already following us on the socials, be on the lookout for a potential playoff beverage that might help you enjoy a watch party a little bit more. If you're watching, again, we've had a lot of viewers on this one. Please take a second, click that thumbs up, click that like button to like our video. Help us out with what we do. We appreciate all of you who come in and talk on the chat.
Yeah, and appreciate the people like who at parties will come up and say hi. Like, always appreciate that. Please always come say hi. It means a ton.
We always have like Tide Talk stickers and stuff. So if you never got one, you need one. So come see us, get one. I gave out a lot at the last game, so that was cool as well. So if you are not making the trip to Indy or wherever it might be, make sure you stay tuned with us on the socials, and maybe you can join us at the Farm Fresh building and plan your Tallulah's run accordingly to when they open and when the game starts. But always a fun one talking a playoff clinching moment. The match itself, like it was kind of but it was a very good performance for what we needed to do. And I think we let our opponent dictate that, but we were able to dictate what we wanted on our opponent to keep them in check. So just a really good tactical game plan from Kano and great execution from the boys. Any final thoughts for you, Ryan?
No, you nailed it. I think it was a good kind of preview of what we might see a bit more in the playoffs. I think it was a good tune-up for that, and hopefully we can go have some fun against Miami, score a couple goals, and really go into the playoffs hot. Because over the past kind of 5 games or 8 games, even, I think we've been about second in the East in terms of form and points, and I think that's really important going into playoffs to keep that momentum.
Absolutely. Just for some housekeeping for the away end this week, Miami does not have a supporters group, of podcasts, or any kind of publication. So we did not do an away end last time we saw them. So probably nothing from us midweek unless we can conjure up something. So we'll see what that looks like. Again, you can follow us on the socials for all of that. But thank you to all who took the time out to join us. I know Ryan's getting sick. I'm getting over a cold, hopefully, so battling through it. But again, thank you guys for taking the time to join us. That'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. You can check out our website and our blogs as we have weekly content coming out. Be on the lookout for Timmy's player ratings, Matt Hand's post-match beacon, and the fiery promised Call Hog Corner sort of tomorrow night, where it's going to be a giant pissing contest of who broke the news that we clinched first, whose capital J is bigger than one another's. It might be one to watch on very low, listen to on very low volume. It's going to be a Kevin, Matt Hands, and Evan battle royale to the death. So that's what I got out for. That'll be fun. But click that link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. I've been your host, Matt. For Ryan, thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the tide.
Up the tide.